Some people leave behind legacies. These people left behind punchlines. Today, we're diving into the most hilariously stupid, absurdly tragic, and straight-up unbelievable ways historical figures have exited the stage. Not with a bang, not even with a whimper. More like a historical faceplant in front of the live audience. We are meticulously and painstakingly expanding the narrative of all 10 of these spectacular mishaps, giving each exit the absurdly verbose treatment they deserve. Number 1. The ultimate professional demonstration. Gary Hoy. We commence our expanded chronicle in the sterile, high-stakes domain of corporate law, a world typically governed by actuarial tables, precedent, and an almost religious adherence to the predictable. This is the universe that, by its very nature, is supposed to be boring, unless, that is, a figure named Gary Hoy decides to insert himself into the narrative. Hoy was not just any lawyer. He was a senior partner at his Toronto firm in 1993. A figure of authority, gravitas, and, as it turned out, dangerously misplaced confidence in architectural engineering. The setting was the firm's office on the 24th floor of the Toronto Dominion Centre, a structure built to weather both market fluctuations and Canadian winters. On this particular day, Hoy found himself in the presence of an audience, a group of visiting law students. In an effort to demonstrate the firm's stability, its commitment to quality, or perhaps just his own sheer bravado, he decided to prove a point about the windows. Specifically, he wanted to demonstrate that the massive panes of glass, a feature of the modernist skyscraper architecture, were unbreakable. This was not an impromptu dare. The terrifying truth is that Hoy had done this stunt before. He had, on multiple documented occasions, taken a full-speed running start and delivered a body check, a full-force, intentional collision against the glass pane. And every time, the glass held firm. It was his party trick, his physical signature, a bizarre testament to both the strength of the glass and, presumably, his own athletic resilience. The repeated success had solidified a dangerous, fatal certainty in his mind. The window was an immutable object. His body was the unstoppable force. But the universe, as it so often does in these tragic comic tales, was simply waiting for the fateful day to recalibrate the variables. On this attempt, Hoy executed his running dive with the same conviction, the same momentum, and the same terrifying confidence as always. He hit the glass, and just as in his prior demonstrations, the glass pane itself did not shatter. He was right about the glass. The pane remained intact, a perfect, unbroken sheet of safety-proof transparency. However, in a horrifying twist of architectural irony, the immense force of the impact, channeled through Hoy's professional momentum, proved to be too great for the secondary structure. The entire window frame, the large metal structural seal that held the glass in place, was jolted out of its secure placement in the building's facade. It popped out of the wall, separating from the concrete and steel that anchored it to the 24th floor. The senior partner, still pressed against the unbroken glass, was now suspended in the void. Gary sailed through the air, glass pane and metal frame his temporary useless raft, on an irreversible journey downward. His demonstration, intended as a brief moment of professional showmanship, concluded as a textbook case of winning the argument. The glass was demonstrably intact, but losing absolutely everything else. He proved the glass was strong, while simultaneously disproving his own theory about surviving a 24-story fall. His exit from history was a spectacular, almost philosophical object lesson in the difference between structural integrity and the ultimate limits of kinetic energy applied to a brittle seal. He went out not just with a fall, but with a full, professional-grade self-debunking. Number 2. The Law of Unintended Airmanship. Franz Riclet. Our second subject transports us to Paris, 1912, and the iconic soaring structure of the Eiffel Tower. Here we encounter a man whose ambition vastly outstripped his engineering acumen. Franz Riclet, a tailor from Austria. Riclet was convinced he was the next Leonardo da Vinci. His vision was not merely a new fashion trend, but a revolution in human movement, a guarantee of safety from any height. His masterpiece wasn't a canvas or a glider, but a wearable parachute. In reality, it was a ridiculously heavy, cumbersome garment that looked suspiciously like a massive, over-engineered coat or perhaps a medieval diving bell crafted from linen. It was a contraption of his own design, a heavy mix of fabric, string, and hope that promised a gentle descent. To silence the doubters and secure his eternal glory, Riclet secured official permission to test his invention from the most dramatic location imaginable, the first deck of the Eiffel Tower. This detail is crucial. It highlights the tailor's desperate need for a grand stage, an undeniable backdrop for his triumph. The scene was set. A crowd, including police officers, friends, and the press, gathered below. Everyone who knew him or saw the contraption, from the stern police who had signed his permit to his worried companions, begged him to use a dummy. But Franz, consumed by the desire for immediate personal accolade, insisted on being his own test pilot. He famously proclaimed that he was confident in his invention, and that his life would be a small price to pay for the glorious leap forward in aviation he was about to provide. He stood on the guardrail of the first deck, a tiny figure silhouetted against the Parisian sky, looking down on the world that was about to witness his ascension to the pantheon of innovators. He hesitated for a moment, a crucial, agonizing second of doubt captured forever on film, and then he leapt into history. The invention immediately failed. The heavy, unyielding fabric did not catch the air or slow his descent. Instead of opening into a graceful canopy, the entire garment wrapped around him like a shroud, cinching him into a compact, aerodynamic torpedo of cloth and human flesh. He plummeted straight down, accelerating to terminal velocity in seconds. The landing was less a gentle touch and more a definitive, sudden stop. Riclet struck the frozen ground at the base of the tower with such force that his impact left a small crater. The very ground of Paris, solid and unyielding, became his tombstone. He achieved fame undeniably. The horrifying spectacle of his 57-meter fall was captured by news cameras, ensuring his story would be preserved as a cautionary tale for all time. The press, with a brutal economy of language, gave him a perfectly fitting nickname, the Flying Tailor. The man who dreamed of a revolution in flight became a footnote in the history of tragic, self-inflicted gravity lessons. Number 3. The 300% mortality maestro, Dr. Robert Liston. We travel back in time to the era before anesthesia, a grim, brutal chapter in medical history where surgery was less a precise science and more a high-speed horror show. In this unforgiving theater of agony, one man stood out as the undisputed rock star of the operating theater, Dr. Robert Liston. He was a Scottish surgeon whose reputation was built on his terrifying, lightning-fast execution of procedures. His speed was his legend, often clocked at under 3 minutes for major amputations. This speed, while a great benefit to the patient's consciousness, was, as it turned out, terrible for everyone else in the room. Liston was a man of furious, theatrical energy, a blur of scalpel and saw. During one of his signature speedy leg removals, his blade was moving so furiously that he lost all sense of his periphery. In a wild, uncontrolled sweep of the scalpel, he accidentally sliced off the fingers of his young assistant. If the maiming of his colleague wasn't enough, in his wild backswing, he clipped the coat of an elderly spectator who had come to observe the master at work. The spectator was so frightened and overwhelmed by the spectacle that he dropped dead from a heart attack on the spot. The aftermath compounded the tragedy. The patient and the assistant, whose wounds were contaminated, both later succumbed to a virulent, pervasive infection, gangrene. The final tally for this single horrifying performance: 1 patient dead, 1 assistant dead, and 1 spectator dead, all gone in the span of a single operation. This single surgical event proudly holds a notorious record. It is the only surgery in history with a 300% mortality rate.
Number 4. The humiliation of the hydrodynamicist, Bobby Leach. Our narrative shifts to a figure of pure, undeniable courage and reckless adrenaline, Bobby Leach. Leach was a true daredevil. His legend was cemented in 1911 when he became only the second person to go over Niagara Falls in a barrel and lived to tell the tale. This guy stared into the watery abyss and spat in its eye. He toured the world, a living testament to the fact that he had cheated death. So, having survived a stunt designed to kill him, what epic challenge finally claimed the life of this fearless adrenaline junkie? The answer, in a spectacular and almost cruel twist of fate, was a single, stray, discarded piece of fruit. Years after his Niagara triumph, Leach found himself in New Zealand. While taking a casual, unhurried stroll down a street, his fate intervened. He slipped on an orange peel. The resulting fall resulted in a compound fracture of his leg. The break became compromised and developed into a deadly infection, gangrene. Leach died from complications following the amputation of his infected leg. The man who conquered Niagara Falls was ultimately taken out by the most minor, most humiliating piece of litter. Number 5. The ultimate legal self-defense, Clement Vallandigham. Allow us to present a lawyer who took the concept of a killer argument a bit too literally. Clement Vallandigham, this tale of courtroom devotion turned self-slaughter, unfolds in 1871. Vallandigham was tasked with defending a man accused of murder. Vallandigham's entire case hinged on the idea that the victim had, in a desperate, clumsy accident, shot himself while trying to draw his own pistol from his pocket. To convincingly demonstrate this scenario to his co-counsel in his hotel room, he grabbed a pistol he was absolutely certain was unloaded to reenact the moment. He showed precisely how the gun could have snagged and fired. And in a moment of utterly devastating tragic accuracy, the pistol, which did have one bullet in the cylinder, went off. Vallandigham was shot in the stomach, proving his theory with a fatal, undeniable realism. He died the next day, but his bloody, final performance was a perfect success. His client was acquitted. Vallandigham posthumously won his case, achieving the most bizarre and bittersweet legal victory of all time. Number 6. The ultimate temper tantrum, Jack Daniel. The name Jack Daniel is synonymous with a smooth, refined character, yet his own final years were anything but. Jack Daniel was notoriously short-tempered. The year was 1905, and the scene was his office. One morning he arrived at his desk and encountered a moment of pure, blinding frustration. He couldn't remember the combination to his safe. Instead of calling a locksmith, Jack allowed his temper to take over and delivered a furious kick to the stubborn, unyielding metal box. The blow broke his big toe. Over time, the break became compromised and a nasty, relentless infection set in, developing into gangrene. This infection eventually led to his death years later. The man who built an empire on patience and craftsmanship was killed because of a momentary, furious temper tantrum with his own office furniture. Number 7. The king who was his own dessert, Adolf Fredrik of Sweden. King Adolf Fredrik of Sweden is remembered for one thing: his appetite. The day that would seal his infamy was February 12, 1771. The king sat down for a meal that was a culinary marathon. He consumed copious amounts of lobster, caviar, sauerkraut, smoked herring, and champagne. For dessert, he moved on to his favorite, a pastry called a semla, a sweet bun filled with almond paste and cream served in hot milk. He devoured not one, not two, but 14 of these enormous pastries. His digestive system, subjected to this royal onslaught, promptly waved the white flag of surrender. The king died that very evening, earning an eternal, unforgettable title, the king who ate himself to death. His demise was a truly epic way to go.
Number 8. The Philosopher and the Fatal Jest, Chrysippus. In ancient Greece, the Stoics preached logic and the absolute mastery of emotion. One of its leading figures was Chrysippus, a brilliant, prolific mind. One day, Chrysippus was walking in his garden when he noticed a donkey eating a pile of figs from his tree. He found this sight hilarious. He turned to his slave and joked, "Now give the donkey a drink of pure wine to wash down the figs." Chrysippus found his own joke so utterly overwhelmingly funny that he was immediately plunged into a fit of laughter so violent and sustained that it literally died from the physical strain. A philosopher dedicated to emotional control was taken out by his own punchline. Number 9. The Cosmic Safety Demonstration, Monica Meyer. The tragically comedic story of Monica Meyer, the mayor of Betz, Switzerland, occurred during a press conference where the topic was, ironically, public safety. During the event, a large inflatable exercise ball, inexplicably left near an open window in the office above, was dislodged. The ball sailed out of the window and fell directly onto the mayor's head, killing her instantly. It is hard to imagine a more perfectly timed, ironic, and utterly ridiculous demonstration of chaos theory. The mayor, talking about how to avoid accidents, was killed by an accident that literally fell from the sky. Number 10. The Fatal 1-2 Punch. King Martin of Aragon, who ruled in the 15th century, met an end so bizarre it sounds like a two-act play. Act 1, the gluttonous prologue. The king, known for his appetite, single-handedly devoured an entire goose for dinner, leading to a severe case of indigestion that left him bedridden. Act 2, the comedy and the collapse. To cheer him up, his favorite court jester told a joke about a deer hanging by its tail from a fig tree for stealing figs. The king found this image so astronomically funny that he erupted into a fit of uncontrollable laughter that lasted for hours. The combination of the severe indigestion and the relentless hysterics proved to be a terminal overload. He died, a final, fatal eruption of pain and mirth. If this deep dive into history's most tragically perfect exits, from the lawyer who proved his window was strong to the king who was fatally undone by a dessert, left you speechless, then show us some love and smash that like button right now. We want to know which of these 10 disastrous demises, be it the orange peel, the kick to the safe, or the fatal donkey joke, you find the most perfectly absurd. Drop your favorite in the comments below. And before you click away, hit subscribe and ring the bell so you never miss our next chronicle of history's weirdest, worst, and most hilarious failures.